Great. I think we can begin now. Once again, welcome everyone to today's webinar with Bulletproof. My name is Jyotsna Bhargav, and I'm the Content and Research Specialist at MISA Ontario. We have with us today Dave Hickman, the Principal Solution Architect from Bulletproof. If any of you would like to ask him questions during the presentation, please feel free to use the chat box. Over to you, Dave.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Good day, folks. Welcome to the webinar. This is Rethinking Threat Detection and Monitoring with regards to securing Canadian municipalities. And really what we're going to be talking about today, this is from a cybersecurity detection and monitoring view that we're going to go through this on. And of course, cybersecurity is a big focus of concern, not just for municipalities, but for all sizes of governments, and as well for private businesses, educational institutions, etc. What we want to do today is really talk about rethinking how we perform threat detection and monitoring and how we protect our organizations overall. So just to give you, as soon as I can find my mouse button, there we go. Just to give you some background, my name is Dave Hickman. I am the Principal Solution Architect for Bulletproof. I've been working in the industry for just over 35 years, 25 of which as a consultant. The last 6 years really hyper focused on cybersecurity, but also in all forms of IT and IT services for our customers. Everything from security operations, cloud technology, what you can see on the screen, infrastructure, VoIP systems, and what have you. And it's generally been with supporting municipalities as well as small to medium business operations that I've spent most of my career and certainly over the last 25 years. So I'm happy to be here today and to speak to you on this topic. As was mentioned already, there is time allocated towards the end of the call for questions and answers, any queries that you might have for me. But feel free, if there's something really pressing that you don't think can wait till the end, you feel free to post questions in the chat, and I'll get to them as soon as they're brought to my attention. So I should spend a couple of minutes to tell you who I'm representing and where I came from. So I work for Bulletproof, as I mentioned. Bulletproof is a Canadian company that was founded about 25 years ago in Fredericton, New Brunswick, and still headquartered out of Fredericton, New Brunswick. We're about just over 300 employees in size right now. We now have a global footprint. We have customers all around the world. Like I said, still focused in North America and really out of New Brunswick, where our headquarters are. And that's where our SOC, our Security Operations Center, our flagship Security Operations Center is located, is in Fredericton, New Brunswick. We provide a number of services to our customers, including managed security services, which is really utilizing that Security Operations Center to do a lot of threat detection and support for our customers. We also provide managed IT services. So your traditional IT things that you would do, server management, infrastructure management, help desk, those sorts of services. We do information management and compliance on the data security side of things. We provide a lot of cloud services, migrating to Microsoft Cloud and using Microsoft Copilot, on the AI side of things, and as well through modern workplace productivity and collaboration services that we provide to our customers. So, pushing people to Microsoft 365, showing them how to use SharePoint, OneDrive, Teams, Exchange Online, and all those good Microsoft solutions that go along with that. That's just a little bit of a history of our company. This slide will give you more of a breakdown of what we do, the types of services that we do provide within those different areas. So in managed security services, we do provide 24/7 threat monitoring, detection, and response, along with our Security Operations Center. And like I said, here in Fredericton, New Brunswick, we provide a number of services that you can see listed around that. I don't want to get too deep into those at this point. On the managed IT side, as I mentioned, the help desk services that we provide, network and server management, firewall management, traditional infrastructure management that goes along with that. We also do professional services, meaning project type exercises for our customers, whether it's implementing a new piece of hardware, software, doing migrations, supporting existing infrastructure, all those things that you see listed there under professional services we provide, and information security services as well. So security testing, penetration testing, vulnerability assessments, security assessments against an audit that customers may be looking for or have a regulatory reason to require an assessment against an audit. So those are really the four main pillars of the company that we do provide. And my role in all that is really to be the solution architect behind recommending these services to our customers and making sure the services we provide really fit the customer's requirements and that they find the value in our services. We have a bunch of awards and things listed here. I'm not going to go through all of these. I will pick out a couple that are important to us. So the very first one there on the left-hand side at the top, we were just recently named the MISA BC Associate Partner of the Year. That was just in September. As well, farther down the list, recently in 2021, we were Microsoft's Global Security Partner of the Year, which was a big, feather in our cap, being a small to medium-sized company out of Eastern Canada. And we've won Security Impact Awards from Microsoft for 5 years. We have typical certifications, SOC 2 Type 2 and whatnot. All our employees are very, very certified with a variety of vendors, whether it's a Microsoft certification or an industry standard certification. And I won't go through all the partnerships and specializations, but those are certainly things that we are proud of and that we have strived to achieve over the last few years. But that's really enough about Bulletproof. You didn't come here to hear about the company. We came here to talk about threats and rethinking threat detection for municipalities. So in order to do that, I want to take a couple of minutes and just talk about what the current threat landscape looks like, what we are seeing in terms of common trends across organizations that we are supporting. We have a wide customer base. Like I said, it is worldwide. We have customers almost on every continent. And there are certain trends that we are seeing across that customer base. First of all, attacks are more numerous and are faster and scarier. We're not seeing the cyber landscape getting any safer out there. The attacks are more numerous, or the threats, attempted attacks against our customer base, they're not slowing down. They are speeding up. They are a little bit scarier in terms of the capabilities that the threat actors have and what they are doing. The use of AI has certainly accelerated that and enhanced that. We are seeing people using, ChatGPT and Copilot and Gemini and all the other large language models to their own benefit. Those AI is really helping us from the threat detection side and from what we can do as defenders of organizations, but it's also helping the attackers as well. The ransomware emails that we see now look a lot different than the ones we saw 5 years ago. They're better worded, they're more targeted towards organizations, they're more polished, they just look more realistic. And it's harder and harder for end users to really determine that something is a malicious email or is a phishing email or something that may cause them problems. It's really hard to tell them from legitimate emails now. And it's become we educate our customers, users, and we talk about the importance of education so that they know how to detect phishing emails and bad things coming in by email or not by email, even through other means. But it's getting so hard to differentiate between those now. It is really blurred between what is real and what is not. And we're seeing that with AI and everything we do. Anybody who uses Facebook or social media every video you see, you have to stop and question whether it's real or whether it's AI or not. So this is, we are seeing more and more of this. Ransomware is still the primary vehicle for pain for most of our customers. That is still the number one thing that is really causing people to lose sleep at night. And in fact, even for municipalities, the majority of the attacking groups who are looking at municipalities, it's for ransomware, whether it's to just deploy ransomware, based on making some money from the ransom, or even double extortion schemes where they're also doing data theft and exfiltration of customers' data and deploying ransomware. But what we are finding is the vast majority of threat actor groups are utilizing ransomware, especially when they're dealing with municipalities. The targets have changed, so we are seeing this. Not all our customers are municipalities, of course. We have a fair amount who are, but what we have found is that smaller organizations, as a rule, are more at risk now than they used to be. It's not just the larger organizations with huge budgets that are being targeted by threat actors. They're targeting the smaller groups because they're easier fish. They're perceived as being easier fish to catch, because smaller organizations, smaller municipalities, they usually, and I'm not speaking for all of them, obviously, but they don't tend to have full-time security teams in place to protect their environment, to protect their perimeter, and to protect them from insider risk and protect them from other threats. They tend to have, and maybe a security officer who is overworked and overtasked with all things cybersecurity for the organization, but they would not typically have a security operations center, have security operations center analysts who are looking at their environment and detecting whether threats are incoming or not. So what we're seeing now is that no one is really safe. Everyone is a target. Every organization is out there. A lot of ransomware groups are actually targeting, I shouldn't say a lot, there's a good few that are actually targeting municipalities specifically. So it's not just that municipalities are collateral damage in larger exercises anymore. They are also being targeted because of the fact that they don't have full-time security teams, and they don't have the security budgets that some, Fortune 500 companies would have. And the type of actors that we're seeing, they're not, especially for local governments and municipalities, they're not really nation state actors that we're dealing with. Don't get me wrong, there's lots of threat actor groups that are nation state actors that are out there, within North Korea and China and Russia and all that. But when it comes to municipalities, it's not necessarily those that are targeting smaller municipalities. Anyone can be a threat actor group, and there's lots of small groups who do focus on the smaller municipalities and are using some of the same methodologies and tools that the larger groups are using, even the nation state actors are using. The toolkits that are being utilized by some of these groups can be downloaded freely off the internet by anybody to try and go after an organization. The fact that they can use AI now means that they don't have to speak the same language. They can use AI to formulate these attacks, whether they're phishing emails or whatnot, or through social engineering, to go after companies around, or organizations around the world. And we are seeing that attacks are getting quicker. It used to be that a threat actor, once they gained a foothold into an environment, it may take 15 days or longer before an attack was unleashed on that environment while they examined things and gathered information. We are still seeing groups that are living in our customers' environments, or attempting to live in customers' environments longer, but we are seeing a lot of quick smash and grab style attacks where they're often in the same day, within the same hour. sometimes as when they get a foothold because they want to do what they're doing quickly before they get detected. These attacks, of course, they don't always happen 9 to 5. What's 9 to 5 for you is not 9 to 5 necessarily for a threat actor group. Hacks attack or happen all around the clock, 24/7. They tend to focus on actual after hours scenarios, on holidays, especially Christmas time, is a bad one for threat actors because they know people's defenses are not as strong as they normally are. Their heads are not in it as much around Christmas time and around other holidays. So it's harder to detect threats that are happening. A lot of people are taking vacation. Maybe your security officer is taking vacation during that time. That means there's a window of opportunity for a threat actor to really cause some damage during that time period. So it's important to recall that we cannot just defend 9 to 5. We have to defend our organizations 24/7, 365. And for municipalities, the issues, I shouldn't say they're unique, but municipalities, they do have some somewhat unique circumstances that cause them to be or to have more risk than other organizations. Municipalities tend to have casual workers and outside workers, non-IT savvy workers. I'm talking about your recreational workers, people who may be working in a swimming pool, your rec centers. You also have typically roads and streets people who are working in the field all day. They're not in front of computers and they're not IT savvy people in a lot of cases. They may have email, they may have a company phone or a personal phone that they use to access the city's or the town's email system to receive email. So they have an identity, they have an email address, they have a username, they have a password, they're getting email and doing things like that. They may have access to some systems like an HR system or other systems in your organization, but they're not necessarily trained in the latest and greatest in cybersecurity. And because of this, this is a challenge. In an ideal situation, everybody would come in the office and sit at their desk and use their computer and log in with their multi-factor authentication, and things will be a lot more secure. But that is not the reality of how municipalities work. They have all different types of people accessing technology in different ways, and we still have to protect them. I've heard some people say, well, we don't give the security licenses to these users. They're just outside workers. They don't really use computers, so they don't need, security protections in place. That's far from the truth. These are the people that you really need to have the security protections on because they're not necessarily, it's not top of mind for them to be concerned about security on a day-to-day basis. They're concerned about doing their day-to-day job. And cybersecurity is not something that really is a part of that for them. So that's a concern. As well, municipalities have varied departments and remote locations in some places. Very, very rarely is a municipality all housed within a single building. You have remote locations, you have municipal depots, you have treatment plants, you have sewage plants and whatnot, where things may be looked upon differently than they are looked upon within the municipal main office in terms of how people use technology and what they're doing. You end up with scenarios where people are using shared usernames and passwords to access systems rather than everybody having their own username and password. You see lax things taking place either through the necessity of the job or just because the focus is not really around the cybersecurity side of IT. You also have the fact that a lot of municipalities are multi-service. You have police forces, police stations, you have fire protection services, and you have the water and sewer. All of those have unique requirements when it comes to threat detection and protecting the organization. The police have a different way of using technologies than the fire do, than the regular, city staff or town staff would have. Water and sewer also have the added issues of potentially having critical infrastructure there that needs to be monitored, in the way of SCADA systems and those environments that need to be thought of as well. So this complexity of having these they're really different types of organizations altogether, but in some cases, they're all part of the municipality and under the same umbrella as the municipality. And that makes the protection of all those difficult, because they're all under the same umbrella and they all have different requirements and different needs from each other. This is also further impacted by the size of the budget that you might have as an organization. A lot of municipalities and local governments, they may have an IT budget, and cybersecurity may come under that budget as a line item, for cybersecurity. And what that entails may differ from organization to organization. In some organizations, that may mean we have an antivirus and we have a firewall. In other organizations, it may mean that we have a penetration test once a year. And in some organizations, it may mean the entire overall look of cybersecurity and how it's implemented throughout the municipality. The size of the municipality really obviously impacts the size of the budget and how much that can afford to be spent on performing cybersecurity. And that really plays a role in the threat detection side of things, which I'm going to get to in a little more detail now in a minute. But it really complicates things. The smaller municipalities may not have the budgets to really protect themselves properly. And this is a concern. So when it comes to the threat detection and protecting ourselves against these threats, some organizations have tried to create their own de facto security operations center, and it really is a disaster DIY in some cases. Trying to do security operations in-house can be very difficult for municipalities, especially, the city of Toronto is one thing and the city of Montreal is one thing, but then smaller towns, it's a totally different scenario. When it comes to operating a security operations center, that's a much tougher conversation with how to do that. Building a security operations center, it is functionally difficult. The building of the security operations center team, the hiring of the correct people to work in the security operations center, the training and certification costs that go along with that, with keeping those people educated and up to date, the technical stack that's required to run the security operations center, including the SIEM, the security incident event manager, and all the security tools that are required. There's a lot of pieces that have to go into this, and complexity into making this all work together. What we see in a lot of cases is that an organization may have people who handle cybersecurity. They may be part of the IT department. They may be, a security officer within the IT department, or a number of people who are handling cybersecurity within the IT department, but they tend to be doing this off the side of their desk. What I mean by that is very rarely their full-time job to watch for security threats coming into the organization and address those threats. They tend to be tasked with other things, whether it's a server that's got an issue out at the municipal depot or something else that's going on. They're typically not people sitting in front of a computer screen looking for threats and dealing with those on a day-to-day basis. And that lack of focus means we have gaps in coverage. We're not responding to things when we see them quick enough, and that's all the threat actors need. We have found, and depending on how big the organization is, but we have found over time that really a security operations center, even for a small organization or a small municipality or local government, you need 8 to 12 people to handle the security operations center monitoring and threat detection. Because when you think about it, you've got 8-hour shifts of 3 a day, 24 hours. You have 5 days a week. You have weekends. You have holidays. You have people who take vacation, you have sick time, you have education time, training time that people need to take, and you have the turnover rate of people coming and going in the organization. SOC analysts are at a premium right now, and we can tell you that because we run a security operations center, and we have for 8 years now, and they come at a premium. There is turnover. They come and go, especially when they don't necessarily have to be with remote work. They could be in different places and still work for a security operations center. So this is some of the complexity that make building a security operations center functionally difficult for municipalities to do, let alone the cost of this. You have overtime costs, you have evening shifts. And one of the complexities that we have seen with the evening shifts and overnight shifts with a security operations center is, as people mature in their careers, they don't always want to be working the evening or night shift. Analysts want to get to the 9 to 5 job. They want the stability of working a regular daytime shift, just like everybody else. But it takes talented people. When threat actors are focusing their attacks at 3 o'clock on a Sunday morning, you need to have talented people who are operating your security operations center during that shift. We can't look at it as being a lesser time slot. It is the more important time slot, and it's hard to get people to work that shift, especially your more senior, talented people. So that's a complexity that we have to deal with, and we have to take care of. There's also the hidden cost behind all this. It's easy to say we're going to hire 10 people and they're going to be SOC analysts and they're going to take care of the city's security and cybersecurity detections and response. But it's not just the salaries of those people. It's all those things that I said are functionally difficult, figuring out what SIEM to use, figuring out the security tools and the technical stack and what infrastructure we need to run that. That all has costs associated with it as well. And there has to be a return of some sort on the investment. Your municipalities, we don't have unlimited budgets to throw at some of these things. So we have to consider that when we're sizing the security operations center and making compromises sometimes on how that security operations center is going to work. So that's one of the things that we have said numerous times over the last few years is organizations that don't already have a security operations center are probably not going to build a security operations center because of the difficulty and the cost involved. There are a lot of organizations out there that can help you with security operations center services. Bulletproof is just one of them, to make that investment better placed elsewhere rather than trying to do it yourself. There are a number of these are some of the gaps that we see from organizations trying to do it themselves. And the fact is that there are trusted partners that you can utilize, whether it's Bulletproof or whether it's somebody else, that can help you in plugging these gaps and making these problems become less of a problem. One of them, the main first one, is the lack of deep IT security or compliance expertise. We have municipalities sometimes that say, well, we have some people, we're going to retrain these people into security operations center analysts. They're going to do a couple courses and they are going to be the defense of our organization. And they may be, IT people or compliance people or whatnot within the organization. That's hard to do unless they are laser focused on cybersecurity, unless they are trained on cybersecurity coming in from a college or university. It's really not their forte that they specialize in, and this can be a challenge. You need to be highly trained and kept up to date with the cyber threats and cybersecurity changes that we're seeing out there. This, as I said earlier, this cannot be a side of the desk job. You have to have people who are focused on this. And finding a partner, whether it's Bulletproof or somebody else, finding a partner that can provide those people as a service may be a better bet than trying to train people to do all this yourselves. We have a lot of customers who have IT people who are somewhat trained in security, and we work with them. We're an extension of their team. We're part of their security team, and they're just a part of the picture. It's very difficult for organizations to completely do it on their own because of all the things I said on the previous slide. Being less familiar with cybersecurity best practices and minimal time to educate and train. Yeah, that's part and parcel with this. Your people who you are hiring or retrained, they're focused more on your organization. They may not be knowledgeable of what's going on in the larger industry and keeping up to date with best practices in the cybersecurity realm as a whole. And they may not have the time to keep up to date with their training and education on this, unless they are 100% focused on being a SOC analyst. The budget resources is a tough one. That comes up into every conversation. Every organization deals with this. Every municipality that we have as a customer has reached out to us because they don't have the budget to do this themselves. And it's not a minor thing. It's the biggest problem that people are encountering is just we don't have the budget to be able to do this, to provide all the people and all the resources required to do it. So having an experienced partner out there that can work with you is really valuable in this case. The other thing is where someone like a Bulletproof can help is with the fact that most organizations can be overwhelmed. There's a million security products out there. Some of them work together well, some of them don't work together well, some of them you need, some of them you don't need. What should you be using? Which tools should you buy? Years ago, when I started my career back in the 80s, when the 90s came along and people came out with antiviruses or viruses that were infecting people, the biggest question at that time was, well, which antivirus do we get? Do we use, Symantec or Norton or McAfee or any one of these organizations? And that was kind of the biggest question that we had. Well, now we've gone so much farther, and I'm not just talking about antivirus, and I'm not just talking about firewalls. I'm talking about intrusion detection packages. I'm talking about identity protection packages, email protection packages, your data protection. All of those components, all of those things that you need to put together to have a cohesive defense against cyber threats can be overwhelming to figure that out. Where do you start? Which tools do you choose, and how well do they work together? Again, having a trusted partner that can guide that conversation and can work with you on that is invaluable, especially to municipalities, especially to smaller municipalities who really may not, they don't know what they don't know. They don't know what they're getting into when they start this, but having guidance of people who have done it and this is what they do can be very valuable to you, and really make the difference between whether your cybersecurity defense is successful or is not successful. We always say, when it comes to threat detection and response, as the defenders, we have to be right 100% of the time. We have to catch everybody. We have to catch every threat when it comes in, or else we fail. The attackers, they only have to be right once. They only have to get something right once. So it is a difficult thing. We do have to have the complete picture. We have to ensure that we do get it right all the time in order to keep our organization safe. So having partnering with an organization that is a managed security provider, they have some real benefits in the way that they work inherently. Because if you think about it, someone like a Bulletproof or a company like ours, we have a lot of customers. We see threats. Threats are rarely 100% unique, especially the tactics and methodologies that threat actors are using. So we see a specific type of threat attack. We're not seeing it once. We're seeing it across our customer base. We're seeing it in numerous industries and numerous verticals, and we know how to respond to them. When we see something once and we understand what's going on, that becomes then ingrained in our knowledge base that we have of, oh, this is this threat, this is what's going on, we know this, we see this all the time, here's how we defend against this, here's how we protect our customer against this. So that really is the economy of scale that a trusted partner can provide in keeping you safe, because they see more, they have a bigger customer base. Your security operations center people or your security people in your organization, they're only really seeing what's happening in your organization. They don't have firsthand experience for what's going on in other organizations. They may hear some things anecdotally, but it's not part of their day-to-day, being that they are seeing these things. A partner, when they see these things, we identify trends. We identify areas where we can automate things. So we can automate our response to certain types of threats that you may see in your environment. Again, it's harder for an individual organization to do that because you only have visibility into your environment. You don't necessarily see the patterns that we see and enable you to automate the response to those things. Trusted partners can be an extension of your team. This is not always a client subscriber type of case where like ADT in your home where you just pay a monthly bill and they're taking care of things. These providers are usually an extension of your security team, deeply embedded, deeply integrated with how your organization works and the understanding of how your organization works, and are really in lockstep with how you are operating your organization. So that's a big value to customers, especially what we have seen with our customers. And not the least important here is that if you have a managed security provider you're working with, they will have service level agreements with you. They will dictate, here's how long it will take us to investigate the threats. Here are the guarantees we are making about the number of threats we're investigating, how long it takes, and whatnot. And they have metrics to track all these things. It's much harder to do that with your internal teams. The accountability is not necessarily there as it is with an outside vendor partner that you're working with and paying on a monthly basis to be there meeting those service level agreements. So there's a real benefit around that as well. I've implemented a lot of SIEMs over the years, a lot of security incident and event monitor packages over the years, and for some organizations, and I'm not going to name specific organizations, 20 years ago, I remember implementing some of these things, and with all great intentions, organizations are deploying this, and we're going to provide the security operations ourselves, and we have a bunch of people internally, and they're going to take care of this, and it's all going to be good and great. And then we walk away, we've got the deployment done, and we walk away, and 6 months later, when we check in with the customer, it's either not being utilized, or it's out of date, or they're not meeting any SLAs because they got too busy with another project that came up, et cetera, et cetera. They've tended to fail because you need focus. You need to be dedicated on the task and what you're doing in order to do this properly. And there cannot be let up. As I said, the attackers only have to be right once. We have to be right consistently. This has to be something that you keep doing in perpetuity. So the key takeaway for all this is really that your environments are a little unique. You're not small businesses. You're in a lot of cases, a number of organizations that are mashed together as municipalities. You have all those different departments in different areas that you need to take care of, and they have to work together. They have to be protected, and often, in a lot of cases, there's overlapping shared services between them. What I mean by that is, if you're using Microsoft 365, chances are every department in your organization is using the same Microsoft 365 with their usernames and passwords and all that stuff, and SharePoint data and OneDrive and Teams and other things that you're using. You're using the same platform, even though we may be talking about a recreation department, alongside of your main municipal office. Very different functions, very different cybersecurity education levels, but they're using the same platform. So that, a risky person in the recreational department becomes a risky person for the entire organization. And that makes, municipalities and local governments a little bit of that's why they're being targeted, because there is that complexity there, and it's not always good the way that it's being protected right now. There are benefits to building an in-house security operations center. Obviously, you have total control over it. They're your employees, they're part of your organization and whatnot. But there are limitations to doing that, as I've outlined already, and there are severe cost implications of doing this as well. And the cost usually outweighs the benefits for most organizations, unless you're a larger municipal center with huge budgets for this stuff. It is very difficult to see the return on investment of building this yourself. The key thing is to talk with partners, find the right partner that's focused on the same technology stack, that's focused on municipalities and their requirements. Find one to work with, and build out a service with them that has service level agreements, that has agreements of how things are going to be addressed, who's going to be doing what in terms of threat response, times of days, hours, coverage, and all that. And that will be an extension of your team to ensure that you have, an enhanced security posture and can really protect your organization without being a checkbox to say, yes, we have, security defenses that are in place. We need defenses that have positive outcomes that we can measure and say, yes, it is actually working. It's not enough just to say, yes, we have some security tools that we're taking care of things. You need the complete picture. You need the total value of this to be in place to really keep your citizens and your organization safe. And that's basically what I wanted to talk to you about today. So that, to summarize all this, you do need cybersecurity protections. Every organization has to have cybersecurity in place. In terms of monitoring and threat detection and whatnot, there's proactive protections and there's responsive protections. You need both. You need the proactive protections, things like multi-factor authentication. When you're using your cell phone, you get a text message, with a code so that you can log into a system. You need all these types of protections. You need that antivirus. You need that firewall. You need all the pieces to cover your environment and keep your environment totally safe. But you also need the responsive side, and the responsive side has to be consistent, has to be 24/7, and has to have quick response. You can't have people who are half using that and they get notified of a security incident and they get pushed into a folder in their Microsoft Exchange called things to look at later or things to do later. It can't work that way. You're not going to have a positive outcome with that. Things need to be addressed immediately. Within 15 minutes of an alert, somebody should have looked at it and decided what to do about it. And that's really the way to do this. If this is hard for you to do within your organization, and I suspect it is for a lot of them, then find a partner who can do this for you and who can really be an extension of your security team and really give you the SLAs and the guarantees that they are going to be actively investigating and responding to threats in your environment. And I'll leave it now. We've got a few minutes left where we can take some questions and answers. If anyone has any, I'll open up the question panel here for any questions that have come in. But I'd love to hear from you. And as always, you can feel free to reach out to us. These are my contact, my email address at least, there where I can be reached, or any representative of Bulletproof for that matter. We'll be happy to talk with you and just discuss things, even just as a general conversation. If you're concerned or have curious about something, always happy to talk cybersecurity with organizations to help them better themselves. I will note that there's been some information put in the chat panel, I believe, by my compatriot Sylvain. There's a book there called From Risk to Resilience, which can help you as well. So it's an ebook. Feel free to contact or access that. And there's also some links to our website where there's information about how we protect municipalities and things that you should be looking for. Any questions at all? Well, I do appreciate your time, folks. I hope you did find this useful.
Okay, so if there are no other questions at the moment, I would just like to say thank you so much, Dave, for sharing such great information with the MISA Ontario community. For all the attendees, as I mentioned earlier, I will send a follow-up email with the recording of this session, some additional resources from Bulletproof, and the slides that were used. Thank you again for joining us today. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you very much, folks. I appreciate your time.